got this crazy idea. Been spending some time listening to audiophiles talk about how your tastes refine over years, and back when you first started, you probably didn't know what you were listening to, and it wasn't good, or it wasn't this, or it wasn't that. So I've decided that I am going to go on a quest to find every original piece that I can think of that I built from about 1980 to about 1983. I was 12 to 15 years old between those years, and I'm going to compare it to what I have today. Now, what I do have today is not all brand new, but I do have some pretty nice stuff that I've accumulated because I am here now 50 plus years old. So I'm going to see if my old stereo system can compare to what I have today, 40 years later. Here we go. I'm excited and nervous. I haven't opened this all day just because I'm excited and nervous. I could have bought some junk. I don't know. But I found something online after doing the last video. I got a little nostalgic when I went online and I looked around for 5 or 10 minutes and ran across something extremely interesting to me. That is a blast from my past. A little concerned about the boxing here. It wasn't the greatest. She's a beauty. The box needs to be repositioned, but oh my god, this is so much a blast from the past. Oh, the fuse looks good. That's a good sign. Wow, I'm a little bit shaking here. That is so cool. This is the beginning of our project. It's a 1978-ish realistic STA64 AM/FM stereo receiver with approximately a whopping 16 watts per channel. Long story short, I've had this same receiver back when I was 12 years old. I worked for it and bought it at the end of a summer and enjoyed it for many years until it fried, and it cost more to fix at the time than it was worth. And then the next thing happened is it actually got lost in a flood. That is so cool. So far, so good. When we go to plug it in, it may be a different story. Hooked up to a set of Infinity RSAs, and I'm about to turn it on for the first time. If everything goes dark, probably wasn't a successful test. Volume's down. Everything else looks like where it should be. Power. Lights up, that's for sure. A lot of sound. Our volume knob's a little dirty, I can see that. Oh my god, this thing looks so good! Dirty knobs and all. Oh my god. Yeah, it's just dirty pots. It's got insane bass. Ah. This is worth taking apart and fixing, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot wrong with it unless there's like I don't know, caps in there leaking all over the place. I really get the impression that this let's turn this off so we don't get copyright infringed. You can tell it kind of gets a little staticky at the bottom, but that kind of went away too. Oh, this is nice. I really think it just needs the dust blown out of it. Oh, that's so nice. I'm only gonna let it heat cycle a little bit for now. Oh, damn, the sound and everything going off is just so familiar. I am a little concerned about the shipping now. When they shipped it, got an packet worth of crap. And it shifted the whole box this way. It also dented this little corner. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to stop filming this here and actually take some pictures. I was really impressed with the condition of the receiver when I first saw it. And then, like I said, just throw in that it wasn't going for that much money. I thought, you know, it was a no-brainer. It is a bit dirty, and you can see. Looks like it sat around someplace, maybe a basement. Maybe a little too close to a basement wall or something. It's pretty much just dirt. All the knobs. I mean, it's already cleaning up some just by using them, but we're going to deox it. Switches seem to be working great. We're going to have to deal with a tuner inside. It's not getting great reception, which I never really remember mine getting great reception either, and I was on a second floor in my mom's house when I had it. I'm going to see if there's some tuning I can do inside. I won't get into like insane details because of course there's already 3,000 videos online that show that. But there's lots to do here, and I hope it's not going to turn into a nightmare. I almost want to refinish the cabinet because I'm going to have to fix it, so I think that may actually be a way to go. But let's get started. But apparently this receiver sat around a long time. It has a lot of, I don't know, dirt and such on it, and it was in really perfect condition until apparently it got dropped on this side when it was being shipped. It started off as a $65 receiver, and it turned into a $30 receiver because I called the guy, or I emailed the guy and I said, hey, your shipping sucked, and it basically kind of shifted the whole package and hurt the box. And he goes, well, how about half and I'll give it to you. And I was like, well, I'm really on an experiment anyway, so what the hell. Something interesting about this receiver, I knew from way back, because it has fuses inside, and when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, get the latest rock album. Yeah, I've blown a few fuses in my day. I always found it interesting that every other thing I ever had some sort of attachments on the side, and you lifted the top off. This is actually a wood box all the way around. And the thing is you take these 5 screws out, and the whole face and everything just comes right out of the box. You'll probably be able to hear my compressor running. I got it going so I can blow all the dust out of it. It's not filthy inside for being 40 plus years old. It actually looks like it's been taken care of quite well. I don't see any caps leaking. I don't see anything burned. As I said, it did work. Seemed to work fine. Just wanted to make sure that I'm not causing any more issues than I should. But yeah, it looks good. Looks real good. And when we flip it over here, and what we're going to go after is these pots. Clean these out. As you can see, they're really accessible. I mean, this is the volume pot. It's basically, that's wide open right there. These pots here, as you can see, they all have vents in the top, up top here. Right there. This one's wide open. The switches have vents in the sides to get to, and then we have a final one down here. And that'll be the cleaning of our pots. Alright, it's been about 48 hours since we took it outside and hosed it off in the driveway. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Actually, it has been about 24 hours, and we did our Deoxic D5 on all our knobs at first, and then we followed it up with our Deoxic F5 fader lube, basically. And the reason we did that is because there's no lubricant really in that D5, and we want it to be nice and smooth for years to come. So we did all of them all the way down, all the switches. I mean, they sound so nice now and so clean. No hang-ups, no spots. This also turned out quite nice for being 40 plus years old. We made sure we stayed away from our FM tuner over here. It's an absolute no-no to spray these things down with any type of contact cleaner. There is a way of doing it to where you use it delicately on the ends only, so it doesn't actually come in contact with the blades. So we went ahead and avoided that ahead of time, but we did get everything else cleaned up all the way around. There's our fuses that we used to have to get in here originally for. It does look pretty good in here, as I said, especially for what we have plans for. But we haven't had it plugged in, so who knows? It all may be trash at the moment. But what we do need to do is we do have damage that, like I said, it came from when it got shipped. It's only very slight. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that yet. I don't know whether I'm going to try to cut it off with a knife or file it off or whatever I need to do, but that just needs to go away. I mean, it's actually, the material's still there. I wish I could just pound it out, but if I did that, I'm sure I'd just be pounding everything out. Another thing I need to do is actually fix this. As you can see right here, the cabinet is split and a little broken. So I need to fill that up with some glue. I need to fix this over here. It's actually separating and coming apart also. And then of course, there is the dent right here. So that has to be fixed. And of course I need to take the face off completely. All the knobs, everything has to be taken up into a sink and scrubbed like it's never been scrubbed before without taking all the lettering and stuff off, because we don't want to do that. Okay, out here in the garage, first thing I really got to worry about, one, I got this lifting piece of veneer, and two is this dent. And the way I'm going to fix this dent is I'm going to put a wet rag in my microwave for about 5 minutes and make it super hot. Then I'm going to lay it on this, and it should make the wood soft enough to actually be able to tap back in place. Then from there, I'm going to have to get out my glue bottle and start stitching some of this veneer back together. Okay, after about a half hour of tugging and pulling and yanking and pushing, I think I got it back in shape. I do have it in a bit of traction here with a couple paint sticks. Because this corner was just so smashed, I actually had to get in there with a knife, try to pop some of the veneer back up, and then I filled it with a little sawdust and glue. That way it's got some structure behind it, but I didn't want it to bulge and I didn't want it to crush, so I had to use some paint sticks here to actually get that back in shape. The dent came out pretty nice. It still looks a little messed up here, but that's just basically, that's cosmetic. I mean, it's really flat. Tiny bit of a rolled edge, but that's expected being that it had a big giant dent in it. Also got this side, which was broke loose about this far back, so everything's been all re-glued up on the inside. The glue isn't perfect inside, but of course, you know, it wasn't perfect when it was originally built, so that's not a big deal. For now, though, I just need to leave it set. I mean, this is some fast setting glue, and it works really good and really strong, but it does take its time, and there's no reason to actually start pushing and pulling on it, because the next thing I want to do is I'm going to give it a light sanding, because it's never going to get all this out of it. And I could scrub this stuff until doomsday, and it'll never all come out. And it should be a little lighter. I'm not sure whether it was just an earlier model or darker, but from what I remember, they were lighter. But that's me. been a day or so. We let everything dry up nice and tight. Take our traction off here. We're going to go ahead and peel the tape off carefully so we don't pull any of the veneer off the edges here, and then it'll be time to do a light sanding. Okay, after a lot of long and boring sanding that nobody wants to see, I started off with the 120 grit. That was a little too aggressive. It did take everything right off. But I was very careful because I knew right away that was extremely aggressive for this. And what really worked out much better was a 150. And as I said, you only have a tiny bit to actually sand until you're into the core. And from there I went up to about a 150, I believe, and from there to a 220, and from there, believe it or not, to a 400. And that's before I stain it. It's about as light as a walnut box is going to be, which still flips me out that I'm refinishing a receiver. It's just so weird. I've never so much as painted one before, let alone refinish the wood on a receiver. But this is cool. This is real fun. Next step, stain. Okay, we're about to do our final wipe down after doing 3 layers of Sequoia Red Minwax. We tested some natural, and it turned out to be just kind of like that brown, that 70s kind of icky brown. So we went ahead and we thought about using some other lighter, redder kind of things for red oak and such, and we ended up with Sequoia Red, which is, that's red. I mean, as you can see, that's just from the wipe it down. But it did come out a nice tone. I mean, it's a beautiful tone. So I'm going to do one final wipe down, and then I'm going to have to let it sit overnight. At least give it 8 hours or so. I'm going to set it next to the heater too, since it's sitting in my garage at the moment. And tomorrow we'll be able to start off with a couple coats of wax, and it should be ready to be reinstalled. Okay, let me turn that down before I get a copyright strike. Ironically, that is Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, and I bought that album original when it came out, and I played it on this, or my original version of this, and it's kind of ironic, being that it's not something I pulled out special just to listen to. It's just something that's in my 5-disc CD player in my garage at the moment, which means the last time I was out here I was probably jamming on it before. Yeah, pretty ironic. But I'm going to go ahead now and get some Johnson Paste wax put on it. This is just like a car wax, but it's for wood, and you just can layer that stuff up on. It's kind of like a, I don't know, kind of jelly almost. Lay that stuff on thick and you just leave it sit, and it saturates into the wood. Probably 20-30 minutes between each application. There'll probably be 2 or 3 of them involved, which means another hour, and I don't think you want to sit here an hour and watch me go wax on, wax off. I think there's a movie that you can watch if you're really into it. It's not perfect, I'll have to admit straight up. I mean, it is a lot lighter than it was, and the darker covered up a lot. Of course, it is a receiver. I mean, this is just thin Luan, and of course people have had other components and such sit on top. So there's a couple slight marks that hopefully will buff out with the waxer, but we'll see. Worst case scenario, you're only going to see just very edges of it anyway, because, you know, there'll be another component sitting on top of it, I'm sure, or it'll be sitting in its own slot, one or the other. Now, as we let our cabinet dry or wax set or whatever we're going to do, I have another little project in mind.